Hello, 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 and welcome to WordPress and Xampp and more. First, I would like to share with you some of the places where I learned and I recommend, which are great videos. So what we're going to do, before we even get into WordPress, we're going to backtrack, and I'm going to just show you a couple of the people that I've followed and learned from how to do this from scratch with the Xampp famous server with Apache, Mysql, Maria database. Okay, so I go to my history. This one is my always go-to. This guy or gentleman is called, his channel's called School Freeware. And I highly recommend this video right here called Install WordPress and Xampp on Windows 10 tutorial video free. School Freeware, that's number one. Now, the next guy, so just besides the basic Xampp installation and WordPress installation, what he goes in to tell you is how to install multiple WordPress sites. So you can work as many WordPress sites as you want to, as much room that you are allotted. Now, he doesn't go into detail on how to secure everything, but there is another video, many more for that. So the second video, which is also really good, is this video right here called Xampp SSL configuration. And this gentleman, Very Academy, is the channel. So Very Academy. I highly recommend this video. Configuring SSL for free on your server, installing your own cert, okay, without having to go to third party. And then last, this video right here is a very interesting and very complicated and very in-depth, but very important, and it gives you a lot of information. This is Swati Gaming. Swati Gaming. And this video is called How to Install Xampp on Windows with your free SSL and virtual hosts. So that's just three. This guy right here, that's like Tony Teaches, it's a good video, but it's way too fast. It's just super fast. So I would start with these three: School Freeware, Very Academy, and Swati Gaming. Okay, so back to where we were at. So I am not using Chrome. I refuse to, not because it's bad, but it is good, but just so many reasons why I'm not using Chrome and why I'm choosing to use Firefox for this purpose. In all intents, it's probably wise to use Chrome for security reasons if you're not going to go to the in-depth level that you should if you're going to install SSL on your home server. If you decide to host your website yourself on your home server, all that stuff needs to be addressed. This is just a basic WordPress install, and then we're going to do WordPress installs. So first, let's just get out of here. This was the first install, and then I'm going to just kind of go through the steps. So the install worked okay, but what I would like to share with you is how we got there. So first, you got to install Xampp. So for me, it's in my downloads folder, and it is right here. Xampp Windows x64 8.0.6 installer. The version that you will be installing might be higher by the time you're watching this. That's the current latest one by Bitnami. Okay, that's the installer. So you go ahead and you go through all the motions, just install it as is. And then you want to turn it on. And when you turn it on, there's different ways to turn it on. You could have it so it auto runs, you could start it yourself, but just basically let it install to let it upload itself. It's going to come up on your screen like this. And then what you're going to manually do is I'm not going to stop these for right now, but you're going to start them. So start, always Apache first, and then MySQL. We're not working with FileZilla in this video. Okay, so that's the first thing what you do. So then, okay, so to be familiar with your Xampp folder, it's very wise to know where it's installed. So once again, I go to File Explorer. We know that it was installed in Windows in its own folder, and that's it right there, this Xampp folder. So where your websites are located is in a folder called htdocs, and you'll become very familiar with this. So this is the folder right there. And what I'm going to do is just highlight it, right click, I'm going to check properties, and I'm just going to customize it so it pops out. I'm just going to change the icon to a little lock. That just helps me visually, helps it stand out. So this is where I know where my websites are at in the htdocs folders, where you're going to be going to over and over and over. So the other program that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to install the WordPress from wordpress.org, not wordpress.com. Make sure you install for free the latest version of WordPress from wordpress.org. So once again, I have an installation on my C drive in the downloads folder. I saved it. It's right here. There's the zip version, and then I unstuffed it right here. So once you've gotten the Xampp installed and you got WordPress installed, the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your WordPress folder, you're going to open it, you're going to select all of them, everything in that folder. So in Windows, it would be Command A, in Mac, it would be Command A, but I don't have a Mac. I do have a Mac, but I forget it right now. If you have a Mac, you know what it is to select all. So for me, I'm using Windows, not to confuse anybody, but you just hit Control A. So this is when you're doing your very first install. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to select all, you're going to right click, you're going to hit copy. Okay, then what you're going to do, and I'm not going to do it, is what you would do is take everything that's copied, right? And go into your Windows C, go to your Xampp folder, go into your htdocs, that one I just highlighted, and then you right click and you would hit paste. But I'm not going to do it because I already did it. So when you hit paste, it's going to throw the whole WordPress installation into the htdocs folder. And about 75% way through, it's going to say, do you want to overwrite? Just say yes. Boom, you're done. Okay. So here it is. It's already there. If you notice, I have my to access my WordPress config files, etc. What you're going to get is you're going to get a WordPress. It's going to say WordPress-sample.config.wphp, and what you're going to do is change that later. First, you have to create the database. So now that we got our WordPress in our htdocs, so just like if you want to arrow out, so it's Xampp, double click Xampp, then htdocs. And then we have our WordPress install in there in that folder ready to go. So what it does is it preps you for the first installation of WordPress. So let's just get out of there. Let's go back to the browser. So essentially what will happen is, now I configured my cPanel a little bit differently, but I'm not going to get into that because that's a little bit complicated. But just to recap, what I did is I made the root servers, the root users all secure, not an open-ended password where you leave empty, which is one form of doing it in this very first video that I showed you. This guy right here, he does it this way without, so you can just do multiple installs of WordPress, but without it being a secure my PHP. So when I'm talking about my PHP, so right after we did that, we copied the WordPress folder, right? Our Xampp control panels are on. So technically what you would do is you would open up a browser. I'm going to go to a new tab, and I'm going to just go to where I already know is going to be local. Local. Okay, for me, since it's already in the history, this is what it's going to look like. But because because I secured it, I have to log in with my password. Now, generally, the way they show you in the very first tutorial of the 3 that I mentioned, they show you to do it with a passwordless, but that's not working for me. So I created a password, but just ignore what I did. Follow the first video's instructions. I am just showing you the process of what you can run into, what can happen, and my experience of what I've learned. So I'm going to type in my password, and I'll be able to log in. So this way, basically, anybody can't just log into my PHPAdmin, and which you don't want. And I'm not saving the password, even though that makes it easier, okay? So technically, after you install your WordPress, you throw it in the htdocs folder, you open a browser, click a new window, and what you do is you type in just localhost without everything to the right, like just localhost, just ignore everything to the right of localhost. And what's going to pop up is PHPAdmin. Now, I already created my first database, which is called WordPress 01, which is this WordPress install right there, okay? So what you have to do is you have to create a new database, okay? So all you do is you click on new, then the database is going to pop up. I'm not going to do it, but for all practice and purposes, you hit new. You name your database right there, and you want it to be this, which by default is UTF-8MB4_general_CI. You name it, whatever you want to name it, and then you hit create, okay? And then after you hit create, it's going to save it for you. And for this example, I named my database WordPress 01. Okay, so it's done. Let's just pretend that we already just created it. And then we just close out of there. So then let's pretend that, okay, you closed out of there. And now you want to install WordPress. You named your database, this and that, blah, 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 blah. Well, what you have to do before you do the install is you have to go back into your Xampp folder. You go to C drive. Xampp is usually at the bottom. Xampp, you go into your htdocs. And what you're going to see is this file right here. Now I'm just going to highlight it. Now what you're going to see is WP-. sample-config. You're going to open that file. So let's just open it. What used to be sample config, but I renamed it to config because it's the actual correct file. Because you have to rename it to wp-config. You have to take out the sample after you set what I'm about to show you. So you open that in a text editor. Scroll down. So your SQL database is, I named it database 01. So that's what it is. The user is root, and that's generally what it is. Now the password, I should have hidden that, which I didn't. Now everybody knows my password, so I fucked up. The password is usually nothing. So you take out the password and you remove it just from the single quotes, but you want to leave the single quotes, and then you save it and close it. I'm going to close it. I'm not going to change anything. Okay? So then technically what you do is you would right click on it, rename it to WP, take out the sample, and then WP-config, blah, blah, blah. Then you just close out of there. Once again, open up your browser. And what's going to happen is you're going to go to a new page. You're going to type in here localhost WP-admin. And what's going to happen is the WordPress install is automatically going to pop up. And I might show that later in the next part of this video. I might edit this video down. And then it's going to take you through the WordPress install. And if you have done a WordPress install, which I hope you have, then you will know the next steps. So we are now fast forwarding ahead to now we've done the WordPress install. Here we are. We are in WordPress. And this is where I am going to try to simplify everything from the very first WordPress install to every single WordPress install after that. You can change it however you want to. This is just a quick way if you have to do multiple sites, and if you are using similar plugins on those sites, this is a fast way to do that. And I will show you that in the very next steps. So please follow on to the next video.